My name is Christian Scott Atunde Adjuah, and my favorite trumpeters are Clifford Brown, Fats Navarro, Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie, Tommy Turrentine, Roy Eldridge. I used to love Howard McGee when I was really small. Listening to those recordings, I'd freak out as a little boy. Did I say Dizzy Gillespie yet? Okay, because that Dizzy was really big for me. I never knew if I'd be able to play like that. But I used to freak out as a kid listening to Dizzy. I love Wallace Roney's playing, Terrell Stafford's playing. Some of the modern guys, right? Ambrose, younger guy coming up in my generation, incredible player. There's another trumpet player I was checking out recently named Jonathan Finlayson, and he's the younger guy in the East Coast of New York.
My name is Elena Pinderhugues, and my favorite flute players are Orlando Maracavalle and Hubert Laws. And I'm a flute player and a vocalist. Yes. And my favorite vocalists are today, I would say Billie Holiday and Marvin Gaye.
Yesterday I woke up, I can't wait for the show, and I check out my internet while having coffee, and I realized that Christian Scott got the Critics' Pool Award from Downbeat. How cool is that?
That's really cool, right?
Did you know? Were you expecting that? Or?
It's never my expectation because there's so many incredible artists in this generation, so you never know whether or not you'll win or you'll be nominated or up for any of these things, right? So I always appreciate it when I win. It wasn't so expected for it to be for composition. I've won the trumpet award, the Rising Star Trumpet Award, a few times. So generally, once we get a call or email from Downbeat, the expectation is that it's for the trumpet. So it was really cool that it was actually for composition this time.
Exactly, because they know you as a performer who's very amazing and physical, but there goes your writing, your originality, and maybe your score music for your brother.
Yeah, no, it's great to see that people are actually paying attention to more than the trumpet playing,
Elena, you were amazing last night, as all the rest of the band, but Christian had some famous words. He said, like, in a couple of years when you're done with your achievement, people won't remember how the flute was played before.
He says that, and that is a very, very, those are some big words, so I hope I can at least half fill those shoes, but no, I mean, I know it's a little bit of pressure. It's okay.
But you're getting a double bill because you get to play twice in the invitation series. Once with Christian and once with Kenny Barron.
Exactly.
I want to hear the real story. Who got there first? Your brother was a student at Juilliard with Kenny, and he's the one who told Kenny about you, and he was a fan of your brother, so who came first?
My brother has always come first. He introduced me to Christian, he introduced me to Kenny, and I mean, my brother and I, we play together all the time, and so it's been really great every time that we have been able to play together. We introduce each other to whoever, we know, and we're almost like twins, like we just,
Are you the only two siblings in the family?
We are.
So all you do is play music in the basement?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, we did a lot of other things. I grew up dancing. He played some sports, but it was mostly music. And because he started playing, I basically followed, and I followed in his footsteps, and I wanted to be just like him. And so we started playing together, and then the rest kind of became history after that.
very happy to have you this morning, though we didn't expect it. But so I'm going to ask you the questions that I was going to ask Christian instead.
Sounds good.
No. You're going to be the one answering. So it was something like, I know you've been asked that 100 times before, but what is the definition of stretch music?
I think, well, the way Christian defines it, which I think is really, really great definition, is that we're taking music from all different places and times and putting it together. So we're taking the music, we're taking traditional jazz music, we're taking hip hop, we're taking R&B, we're taking Caribbean music, we're taking African music, Cuban music, we're taking hip hop, trap music, and we're putting it all together and kind of stretching them all to be what we're making it into, which is hopefully what you're hearing, which is stretch music.
The other thing Christian maybe told you about, and I know it's kind of a cliche to say that a city falls in love with musicians or something like that, but I guess that happened to him. He's been coming here since 2008, and every time...
First time I was here, I was with my uncle. Oh, sorry.
Really?
First time I was here, I was with my uncle.
Donald?
Yeah, 99.
Big Chief?
So yeah, I've been coming here about 17 years, man.
But really?
Yeah, as a sideman first.
But at your own headlining.
As a leader, 2008. Yep.
And every time something clicked, something happened. And even last
always
night,
magic.
you said this is one of my homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you feel that.
Of course.
We truly, because some musicians just say, oh, hey, great, Montréal Qc.
No. Yeah, no, I mean, there are a lot of cities I hate. so for me, whenever I come here, you can feel the heart of the people. It's a completely different. I always feel like what comes out of my playing feels different when I know that people are really listening to what we're doing. Right? It's they really want to know what's next. Right? And is
the attention and the guessing? Yeah.
You can feel this and the types of listening. I mean, different places you go, different cultures of audiences, there are differences. Like if you're playing in Tokyo, you might play the most riveting solo on the planet, and their reaction is not going to be this big, boisterous one because culturally they're very reserved, right? So it doesn't mean that they're not listening intently, right?
I hear you.
But for me, for my makeup, the way I'm designed, I'm New Orleanian, and culturally this place that is very, very similar to what that environment is like. So I've always sort of felt home here.
Since that latest album, the way I read the song titles only, the horizon, perspective, gangsterism is that word in
liberation over gangsterism, yeah.
I hear a statement every time, and I understand you're traveling a lot.
Sure.
Like Sunrise from Beijing was done in China apparently. How do you feel about spending the next 4 years in a country where somebody's building a wall from south and north?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my music has been about social issues. I always like to clarify that it's because a lot of people sort of have marked me as being political, but I'd never really own up to that because as I understand the word, it's really more about the dissemination of power. Which is not so much what I'm interested in. Like what interests me is to create music that can spark a dialogue about what's going on. I've never been one to sort of subscribe to the notion that my feelings or my sentiment about any given issue is the paramount sentiment in the room. And what interests me more is to be able to create a space where I can hint at a subject or tell you that this is something that I'm aware of that fosters thought, cognition, and eventually a dialogue between people, right? I don't point too hard in terms of the titles, in terms of what you should feel about a given dynamic. I'll just raise the topic, right? Because it's not my place to say what someone else is choosing is right or wrong. I have my own personal feelings about those things. Yeah, like if you're asking me about how I feel about Donald Trump, I've been on record pretty clear since this guy has decided that he was going to stand for a nomination, right? I think the American electorate is ignorant, if I'm being honest. I think the fact that this guy has actually been able to navigate a political landscape that has, such a dense, like pocket of landmines, and to still be able to survive is also indicative of how our culture is changing, right? Because usually a guy that has these type of opinions, a person that opines as much as he does, doesn't make it to a GOP nomination. You see what I'm saying? This is something that's usually vetted in the earlier part of the process as a means of getting bullshit on the platform that ends up encroaching into those spaces later on, right? But this person doesn't end up being the nominee, right? So I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't frightened a little bit. I'm not really interested in living in a country that has this person as a leader because of the types of things that he's expressed, right? When you say that an entire group of people, when he's speaking about Mexican Americans and saying that these people are rapists, right? And these are people that come into and take, to me that hurts me, right? This is not something that you want to hear said about any group of people, right? So, and this is only one example.
And especially when you, in your profession, you're there to cross the borders, to reach out for more audience and more broader.
To me, I think anyone that goes about the business of illuminating, of concentrating on the differences between people as a means of procurement, I generally have a problem with that, right? I'm much more interested in the sameness in people because look, we've had a pretty long history of seeing what talking about and dealing with and creating propaganda around differences has created. We know what that looks like. It's not very pretty, right? So to me, I think it makes more sense to try and unify people, right?
Funny, we're talking about culture and history, but to get back on the real music side, you were pointing out how Elena and mostly her brother, when they play, you hear from way back. Stretch music is not like a future hip-hop mix type of thing. No. It goes back from Coltrane and even...
touching everything. Yeah.
So how do you conceive that liberty of playing in such a wide range?
Well, my brother and I have a really interesting background especially because of my parents. They exposed us to an incredible amount of music. They're not musicians, but they exposed us to an incredible amount of music when we were little, especially world music. So we grew up basically listening to African music, Cuban music, Indian music, hip hop, a lot of hip hop, old school R&B, and then I'm 21, so I grew up dancing to all of the pop radio, all the hip hop that I grew up with, right? So that's the makeup that I'm bringing to the table, and then learning jazz. That's the makeup that I'm bringing to the table in any situation. Now, with the situation in Kristian's band, it gives us a lot of freedom to bring all that type of music inside. We lived in Cuba when I was younger.
Freedom, I saw that last night.
There's a lot of freedom.
On the stage.
There's a lot of freedom.